feet together today. So completely together, and then a big deep breath in as you lift those arms up to the ceiling, palms are up, turn the palms and push down. So you're pushing down with your arms as you're bringing them down. You're lifting up, lifting the rib cage up out of the ribs, turning those palms, pushing down. I'm trying to squeeze my legs together as I'm doing this as well. So from the outside in, if I let my legs relax, I get this nice little gap and I can see it from the wall behind me. So I'm trying to squeeze the legs together and lose that gap that's there. I want to change your natural breathing. So just think about the way you're breathing for the moment. So you're probably breathing in as you come up and breathing out as you lower. Perfectly normal. However, we're going to change that around to take a big breath in when your arms are down, and then a breath out through the mouth as you're blowing, as if you're blowing out through a straw. As you lift those arms up, turn the palms, push down, breath in, try and grow taller with the spine. Breath out. And I'm also really moving and rotating my whole arm in my shoulder socket. So as I'm taking the arms up, I'm lifting the little finger side and really rotating as much as I can. Remember, that's your breath out. Turn the thumbs down almost, but don't let those shoulders round forwards. Keep them drawn down in your back as you're breathing in, as you're lowering. Let's add on to this. Breath out, rotating those arms, and a nice strong breath in with a rise as you lower. Breath in. No, breath out. Oh, here we go. Breath in as you lower the arms, lowering the heels, lifting the arms up, rotating them. Breath out. Let's do two more. Breath in, breath out, breath in. Here's the last full one. Breath out and breath in to lower and release, and give those legs a little bit of a shake. Brilliant. Okay. Let's keep the let's bring the legs a little bit apart. And we're just going to swap from side to side as we take a knee fold. And when I say swap from side to side, you're going to alternate your legs. If we'd have kept our feet together, this would be relatively, it's easy anyway, it's not difficult, but you don't need to transfer your plumb line, that central line, from side to side. But I want it to be maybe slightly wider than a hip width apart, not quite as wide as your shoulders. So you have to take this central line with you as you go from side to side. So today's class is a little bit about thinking about your tissue box of your torso, so the shoulders and the hips absolutely square to your front, wherever that is. And if you're using a yoga mat for these classes, it's quite handy. I know so much of my feet getting a little bit wider, but that's fine. Your feet can be as wide as you like. You've just got to travel more and get over that centre of gravity, over that standing foot a little bit quicker and a little bit more efficiently if your feet are wider, because you're having further to travel. Good, let's add to this. So let's stay on one side with the leg up. As you're lowering that leg and transferring to the other side, you're going to take the arms up. And there again is your breath out and a breath in. Breath out, breath in. Breath out, breath in, growing taller each time. When you take that breath in and you're fully standing on one leg, trying to grow taller, but actually maintaining the same height, which hopefully will be really nice and lengthened in that spine. Breath out, breath in. I feel like I need to maybe come back a little bit on my... Great, now let's bring those feet together. Let's take one arm out to the side and the other arm and the opposite leg, across out to the opposite side. And now you want to create a diagonal line from that top hand to the bottom foot. And again, we're thinking about the tissue box of the torso. We've got our feet together, so there isn't too much of a shift from side to side. But there will be a little one to allow for the arms going out to the side, the long limb of the arm and the leg. So the limbs going out to the side, I should say, not just the arms, it's the leg as well. And I'm really conscious of keeping hips and shoulders square to my front, keeping my tissue box pristine. Same breathing, breath out, so that I draw that rib cage down, connect to my hips. Breath in as I lower, I'm bringing that leg in, the legs are staying straight. I can get that leg back in to join my other leg without having to bend that knee. I'm just changing the angle at the ankle. Breath in, and I'm lifting off of the rib cage. Great, okay, we're going to come back to all of these things in a little bit. Let's take the feet much wider now, insteps parallel, and let's reach up, trying to touch the ceiling. So we're lifting the rib cage off of the hips, and then let's leave both arms up. Make sure that weight is pitched forwards on the balls of your feet. Lower the arms and just feel that lovely lengthened spine. I'm just going to turn slightly to the corner. From this wide position, let's just take a mini hip hinge. So normally I do this in a narrow position, but today I want you to just go straight into a wider legged hip hinge, but it's still only a little hip hinge, and it is only a hip hinge. It does what it says on the tin. We're going to go into squats in a moment, but I want you to feel that your weight is back on your heels. So essentially you can hold it there, you can tap the whole of the front of both feet. You're very aware that your shoulders haven't changed. Your tissue box, if you like, has just tipped forwards. Otherwise there's no change, there's no twisting, no lifting one shoulder up more than the other. And then let's take this on into a nice wide-legged squat. So you're going to send that bottom back. Now you're bending the knees, bending the ankles, deepening that hinge at your hips, so you get that nice compression at the front of the hips, and then coming up. The weight still goes back into the heels. Actually, when I take my wider legged squats as well, I like to just take my toes, just my toes, sorry, my legs, turn the legs out slightly in the hip socket. So 2 minutes to and 2 minutes past the hour. And now I've come back to facing square onto the screen. I can see that I've got good symmetry. I can see that both knees are going over the feet, their respective feet. I've got the same amount of gap either side at the ribs, my shoulders are level, haven't got one knee rolling in, and I'm not pulling over to one side or the other. Just dropping down completely in the middle. Let's take a few more of those. So thinking about all those things I just said. Great, and then let's add on the knee fold that we just did. So we've got this nice deep squat, and then we're going to transfer the weight over to one leg, straightening the standing leg, coming up into that good tissue box position, and then back straight down into the squat and over to the other side. Try not to do the interim position of this, which is your feet down, legs straight, and then do the squat. Try and go straight down into the squat. So I want to see two positions, if I can see you, of course. This position, the deep squat, and then whoop, the knee fold position. That's it, nothing else in between. Straight into the deep squat, check your feet, check your knees, and then straight into the knee fold. Good, let's do a few more of those, all the way down. So all the way down with your hips, watch that you don't collapse in that back. Take your time, knees over toes. Get your time, take your time to be in the right position. I'm just glancing down as I put my foot down. Try not to accept a sort of half-hearted version. Knees over the toes and coming up. Brilliant. Okay, we are moving on in this class today. Let's go for the legs fully turned out. So they need to be wider now. So we're taking a ballet plie. Heels are on the same line. Fully turned out, as in as much as you can do, but turning your legs out in the hip socket so that when you bend your knees, you can keep your back upright and your knees are going over your toes. And then fully straightening the legs in between. And again, because I've got the monitor in front of me, I can see that I've got good symmetry. Ideally, you want your knees above your ankles. So you've got this nice 90-degree angle if you can get those hips low. So you don't want to be too close in because that restricts you, especially if you've got rubbish Achilles like me. If you can't quite get as much turnout as I've got, and you can't get those knees over the toes and you're finding that the knees are rolling in or you're collapsing in your back, you can do a sort of half-half version, which is toes out to the corners of the room and send your bottom back. This is fine, but absolutely make sure that those knees stay above your ankles and also they go out over your toes. If you can, try and aim for this one. Let's do a couple more here. Let's take those arms up as we're going down. And let's take that breathing. Breath out, breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out. We're going to stay down this time. Maybe let's bring those arms out to the side and flex the hands. Let's raise one heel, lower one heel, raise the other heel and lower it. Staying completely still in the body. Just the only thing that's moving on is those heels, lifting and lowering. One more each side. Let's try both at the same time and push down. So pin those knees back, keep your chest nice and upright, pull your fingertips back, flex out through the heels of your palms. Whoo, trying to push the sides of the room away. 4 more, here we go. 4, 3, 2, and 1, and push down and come up. Good job, okay. A little bit added, so it's going to be tough on the legs today. Okay, brilliant. We have got some alternate lunges before we get that body mobilised. In fact, no, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to let's take some side bends first. So let's take some flowing side bends. So we're going to do 3 of these. 3, up and over, 2, and over 1. And then bend the knees, roll down, hang the head in the middle, and roll up in the centre. Go again on the other side. We're over for 3. And big breath in. 2, and a breath out when you're here. And lifting up through the centre. And 1. Bend the knees, roll down, roll up through the middle. 1 more each side, you know what you're doing now. Arm is up and over. 3. And 2. See if you can really touch the sides of the room that you're in. Bend the knees. And if you're in the garden, try and touch the fence or the boundary wall. So 3 and 2 and 1. All the way over and relax down. And then roll up through the middle. Let's take a roll down through the centre. Let those arms hang. You're just going to hang here. We're going to gently straighten the legs and bend the knees. Straighten and bend. So when I'm bending my knees, I'm just releasing the stretch on the hamstrings. It's not a great big knee bend. Just lifting my head to check that my pelvis is nice and level. And then last one, keep those legs straight if you can. Take both hands over to one ankle, take your head towards that knee, just hold it there. Breathe. Swap to the other side. So we normally do this one with much wider legs. Today we're taking a little bit of a change. Come back to the centre. Bend both knees. Walk your hands out. Itsy bitsy, those itsy bitsy spine, those fingertips forwards. Don't put any weight on them. Just drop your hips down. Transfer your weight slightly from side to side. Let your head hang. Feel like you're lengthening your spine forwards, out through the top of your head, and in the opposite direction, through and out through your tailbone, and then bring the hands back to the middle and roll up through the spine. Wonderful. We are going to just take some loose swimming, chest and back lift. Let's do a little bit of that as well. So I'm going to go on a diagonal, feet are still wide, pretty much in the same position, just outside my shoulders, quite parallel, lifting the chest, sticking the bottom out, relaxing and rolling down and rolling back up. So we've got a little combination of the leg work that we've done so far. We've got one more thing to do. And then in the meantime, I'm just wanting you to just get that whole body moving, spine moving. Let's reverse this. So chuck the chest, chin onto the chest, round your spine, lead with your head to lift back up. Lean back a little bit, tuck the chin in, round and tuck under that pelvis. It's like you're trying to take your nose down through the centre of your body. Arch the back, lift the head to come up. One more of those. Two more in fact, I think. Here we go, last one. Honestly, that's the last one. Great, okay. So let's take our lunges next. So I'm just moving my mat this way and I'm going to come forwards at the front of my mat. So this could be done with a bit of support, i.e. using a wall or the back of a chair or a piece of furniture. Ideally, I would like you to alternate stepping back into a 90-degree angle, if you can, at both legs. So that's using a bit of assistance there. Put your spare hand, fingertips to temples. If you can, be on the mat. I think you can just about see me. So fingertips to temples again. From here, I'm stepping back, brushing that back knee, and then stepping forwards and up and out of it. Keeping the chest nice and upright. So again, if alternating is too much for you, stay on one side. Fix the legs. So this is called a static lunge. You're just dropping down and up. You might not go as low as I am. You might only go halfway. Your tissue box, if I'm facing this way, tissue box is facing that wall. If I'm facing this way, I'm in line with my mat. That's why I move my mat here. Let's keep going if you can. Get the legs nice and warm. So the reason I use my yoga mat, I like using a yoga mat, is it gives me a point of reference. So I know my tissue box is square to the top edge of that mat. We're going to add on a knee fold. Place the leg down. Step back, knee fold, push down. So again, this could be done in a static lunge. Just keep lifting the leg and then putting it back. Or you could, well, it's not necessarily a static lunge, but staying on one side is what I mean. Or you could alternate and stay with your bit of support at the side. Starting to get a little bit breathless now, definitely hotter. Pushing through that heel, that forwards heel as you come up. Everything staying nice and square. Great, okay. The grand finale of all of this movement is going to be taking a diagonal lunge. And for that, I'm just putting my mat back this way, so it will make more sense. We're going to go out on a diagonal towards the corner. So you're just stepping out nice and long, leaving the leg that's in the middle of your mat. Keep that one straight. Make sure that this knee is going over your toes, and then come back with your feet together. My shoulders and my hips are still square to the front. So I haven't twisted anything, I'm not changing anything. I might lean over on a slight diagonal. And what I want you to think about with this, especially this leg that you're lunging onto, with the alignment of it, when we did our full ballet plie, this was complete as much turnout as you can in your hips. The knees are going over the toes. This is a sort of in-between functional movement. And the more I sort of stay in this mode, my feet are quite happy to just sort of stay and turn out. But it's like a halfway turn out, not completely parallel, not completely turned out as I was when I was in second, and in between sort of natural turn out. And let's add on to this one, that knee fold to come back in, over to the side, knee fold. So we're transferring the weight back to the centre, and it's quite difficult to hold that in that position. When we get going with the whole combination, we are going to hold it, fingertips to temples, opposite elbow to knee. In fact, let's hold that one there, and then let's do one more on the other side, and lifting, and get everything square, and then rotate. So when you rotate, a way to think about from the waist downwards, staying exactly where it was, just that upper body rotating. Okay, here we go then. So we're going to take a combination of, deciding whether to get my mat out of the way then, but I'm going to stay as it is. I'm going to need to come a bit forward. So we're going to take wide-legged squat, followed by knee fold. Join me if you can. Keep this knee up, that goes back into your lunge. Drop the knee down if you can, into your knee fold. Same leg goes out to the corner. And then knee fold and hold, fingertips to temples, rotate and hold, and hold, and hold, and hold, and hold. Foot down to go again. I'm going to need to come a tiny bit more forward. So here we go. So squat, lifting the other leg, all the way back, and lift, out to the corner. So you can lean, but just keep everything in its correct alignment. Lift, balance, fingertips to temples, turn and hold. Fix those legs. 4 more whole sets. Here we go. Down you go, into that squat, and lift, and swing that leg back, get that chest upright, and lift, out to the corner, and lift, fingertips to temples, set yourself, and then rotate, 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 rotate. And here we go on the other side. Lift the other knee, taking it back, and lift, out to the corner, and lift, and hold, fingertips to temples, rotate, and hold, and hold, and hold, and hold. 2 more sets, last 2, here we go. Send that butt back, and lift. And whoopsie, that wasn't meant to happen. Try not to put that knee down. This is feeling very musical theatre. And then I'm lifting, and opposite hand, opposite elbow to knee, that's the one. Last one, here we go. So nice wide squat, making sure you're in the middle. Lift that knee. No putting that knee down. I was better that time. Lift the knee. Out to the side. Lifting the knee and balance, fingertips to temples, elbows out, and rotate just that upper body. Pull that elbow that's behind you, pull it back, rotate, 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 and lower down. Great job, give those legs a shake. Wonderful. Okay. Wanted to do something that's quite a small movement. That's all been quite big movements. In standing, and we're going to repeat the exercise when we're seated on the floor. And then I'm going to face forwards actually. So let's have our feet parallel and hip width apart. And you're just going to place your hands on your chest. So thinking about this plumb line, straight down through the centre of the body. Placing your hands on your chest. And thinking about keeping from your waist downwards still, exactly as we just did. And we're taking that same rotation that we just did, but we're just going to do the rotation only. So hands on your chest, elbows out to the side, shoulders down, try and lift those elbows up, and you're just rotating that upper body only. And you only really go to the corner, it's actually quite frustrating. To the other corner. And back to the centre. So I'm keeping my nose in line with my centre. Because of the position of my hands and my arms, I can't really move them. You could sort of try and flap your elbows about a little bit. So sometimes I get this sort of thing going on when we're trying to, especially when the arms are free. You can move the arms quite a lot, but you're not actually moving the shoulders, and that's the key to it. So a couple more. Think about the weight through your feet. Try and stay really even. Back through the centre. The other thing I'm doing is I'm actively pushing forwards the hip that I'm rotating towards, just so that doesn't happen. That's a huge exaggeration, but don't let the hips go with the upper body. And if you take a couple more and just breathe, either breath in or breath out one way and then the other, it's entirely up to you. Try both directions if you like, see which works for you, but the more you do this, it should just warm up a little bit and ease off a little bit, so you might find that you can get tiny little bit further, but just watch that you don't cheat. Great, and then relax. Let's take the feet wider. And just now have a really nice relaxed rotation. So now we really are letting the shoulders, hips and the ankles go from side to side. Not even from side to side, they're rotating around that spine. Keeping the head forwards to start with. And then when you do turn all the way to look behind you, hopefully you'll notice that you're getting a little bit more. If you've got something interesting to see behind you, try and notice whether you've got a tighter side or a weaker side. Go a little bit stronger to that tighter side, ease it off on your easier side if you like, so that you just address that imbalance that we've always got. Great, okay, let's come down to the floor. And let's start, we'll do a walk out once we've moved the monitors and bits and pieces. Okay, so standing at the back of your mat, taking a roll down. Again, I'm using my mat as my measurement. So taking the chin onto the chest, keeping that pelvis in neutral, knees are soft, rolling all the way down, hanging from your waist, just walking those hands out. Come into what I call a short dog, a short downward dog. So you're just bringing your shoulders a little bit over your hands, and then you're pushing the legs back, pushing the chest back through the arms, flattening out that lower back. Legs are still bent, my heels have come up off the floor. Walk the hands back to your feet. Make sure the head is hanging, nod your head, shake your head. And then go again, go a little bit further this time. Knees are still bent. Take your hips back, push your chest back through your arms, make the stretch a little bit stronger. Maybe this time try and straighten out those legs. Send your sit bones up towards the ceiling. Just breathing and pulsing through my upper back a little bit, it feels quite nice. Walking the hands back, legs are bent, nod the head, shake the head. One last time. This time we're walking all the way forwards into a full plank. Hands are underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath, no they're not underneath the hips, legs are straight. Thinking about the next exercise already. Back of the head and neck is lifted up. Pushing the backs of the knees up towards the ceiling as you straighten them, that's really important. Holding that there, elbows are soft, I'm really switched on in my centre. Connecting my rib cage to my hips. And breathing. Keeping those shoulders drawn down away from my ears. Then I'm going to lower my knees with control and relax there. So I'm just going to turn my mat slightly at an angle. Now we're into all fours. Thinking about your tissue box of your torso. So when we're in the all fours position, knees are underneath the hips, hands are underneath the shoulders, everything is square and where it should be in relationship to the floor. We're going to extend one leg away to start with, and then draw the knee in. As you draw that knee in, I want you to really round your back. So we haven't really done any of this movement today, but really rounding your back as much as you can, changing the shape of your back. So you're tucking under with that pelvis, And then we're going to extend. In fact, let me, yeah, I'm going to just show you. Just going to show you the position. Sorry, I'm going to extend my other leg. So we're going to extend first. You're going to draw in and really round the back. Then you're going to bring the opposite arm in, which is why I wanted to change arms. So you're here. Then you're going to extend, thinking about the shape of your back again. You've gone back to tissue box. Then we're lifting to the same height. Then we're drawing in. So I'm going to use my back leg sticking out to the back. We're going to do 5 of them. We're going to hold the 5th one. Here we go. So extending one leg away, lifting it up. Now draw it in. Think of how you're changing the shape of that back. It's almost like the knee is attached to the pubic bone, and you're drawing, as you draw that knee in forwards, your pubic bone is tucking in and under. Take the opposite hand in and tuck that elbow into your ribs, make a soft fist, and now extend, fingertips and toes touching the floor, and then lift to the height of the body, and then draw in again. So we're on the way out from this really rounded position. We're brushing the floor, fingertips and toes, and then lifting. 3 more. Drawing in. I'm breathing out here because I'm squeezing all of the air out of my lungs and my lower abdomen. Brushing the floor, find your tissue box again. When you lift, there's no change. Last one, all the way in. Breath out, breath in to hold it here. Circling, foot and hand, or fingertips and toes, but circling from the shoulder and the hip. The torso is staying in your tissue box position, there's no change. Change direction of your circles if you can. It's roughly a tennis ball size circle at the biggest. And then reset yourself, touching the fingertips and the toes to the floor. As you come back in to do the other side, be conscious of how much you had to shift. And then we'll just come back on those hips and the heels for a moment and twiddle the hands. And while I'm doing this, so especially it's only really the one that you were leaning on all the time, the supporting one, but do the other one as well. And while I'm doing that, I'm also just rocking my hips from side to side. If that feels nice for you, it's quite a nice stretch out in my lower back. Okay, here we go. Resetting on the other side. Perfect. Tissue box. Extend the other leg. Lift up to the height of the tissue box. Think about the connection between that knee and your pubic bone. So from here inwards, when those knees are level, I really feel like I'm rounding and tucking under my lower back as much as I possibly can. Bring the opposite arm in, elbow, you're not hanging on to that leg, you're not touching it at all, you're just rounding everything. Brush through your perfect neutral position before you lift. Here we go, 4 more, coming in. Big breath out, scoop that tummy in, brush the floor and lift. And again. 2 more. And lift, last one. Rounding that back by tucking the pelvis under as much as you can. Go through your neutral, lift to the height of the body, arm and leg, parallel to the mat and circling. This first direction will be your most natural direction. Try and make the circle come from your shoulder and your hip. No bending at the wrist, the knee, the ankle. Changing direction. Woo, the unnatural second way. Always a challenge for the brain. And then resetting yourself, touching the floor, hopefully noticing that there's hardly any change. Come in, hand underneath the shoulder, knee underneath the hip. Apart from the weight transference back to all fours, hopefully not a great big shift. And then all the way back. Hips on the heels. Maybe this time take the knees a little bit wider. Twiddle those fingers. Stretch them in and out. Scrunch them, make fists, circle the wrists. Get that blood flow, get the healing juices to those wrists. That was quite strong work. Wonderful. We have some lovely press-ups now. You'll be glad to know. So we're going to concentrate a little bit more on the upper body, and then we're going on to the booty. So hands wide, fingertips facing in. We're going to start with the easiest version of the press-ups. That is your knees underneath your hips. Make sure your lower legs are nice and relaxed. Make sure you're lifted up here, and then all that happens is you bend your arms. You bend your arms, elbows go out to the side because of this position with your hands. Thumbs are on that straight line in relationship to the top of your mat. You might not be going anywhere near as low as me, it's absolutely fine. Be very aware that nothing else is changing. My arms are shaking a bit today, I'm not quite sure why. So the only change is a hinge here. There's no change in the shape of my back. Hinge there and a hinge at the elbow. Back of head and neck, staying long. Easy, hopefully. So if you can, forehead down to the floor. If your nose is as big as mine, your nose might touch the floor, mine does. But I'm thinking about my forehead, well, I'm not thinking about any part of my head contacting the floor. It's just that's the bit, and because it's my nose, it's quite big, that's the bit that hits first. What generally happens is we lift the chin. So if your chin or your mouth are going anywhere near the floor, what's happened is you've changed the angle of your head at your neck. So basically you're doing that, which would be the same as doing that if you were standing, which is not good. We want to keep that neck nice and long all the way through. Okay, challenge yourself if you can. You can keep the hands here. You could maybe bring the hands closer together and take the fingertips forwards. In fact, let's do this today. So let's stay in the same easier position with the legs for the moment. You can challenge yourself a bit more in a minute. Let's bring the hands closer together. Let's take the fingertips forwards, but still spreading fingertips and thumbs. You want to take the front of your shoulders a little bit more over past your fingertips. And then as you bend the arms, you tuck those elbows in to the sides of your ribs, ideally so that they make contact. If you are here, if your elbows are going anywhere near the floor, your hips, your weight is way too far back. That's why I would like you to be forwards, over. Tuck those elbows in. This is harder. A few more if you can. Nice big breath out as you come up on the hardest part. Great, okay. I'm going to stay in this narrower position, and I'm just going to take my knees back. Your choice is to go back to the wider position with the fingertips, the fingers facing in. We're taking the knees back so that we can drop the hips forward. So essentially we're in this straight line here. And you could work here. So I'm in the wide position. You don't have to go anywhere near as low as I'm going. You don't have to go chest to the floor, body to the floor. But you do need to keep your body in a straight line. There's no change. A straight line as in from my shoulder through my hip. I've got this curve here, that's my natural curve. You'll all have it as well. We're not trying to lose that, we're just trying to keep the body so there's no other hinging other than the arms. What makes this quite nice and comfortable as well is just to pick the feet up so that you're on the ends of your thighs, not on your kneecaps, and that works quite well as well. So that's the wide-armed position. You might want to stay in a narrow-armed, narrower position, so they're tucking those elbows in. So I'm going to go more forwards with my shoulders over, and then I'm tucking in. And now my elbows are brushing past my ribs. I'm going to do another 5. Challenging myself today. I encourage you to challenge yourself as well. Very easy when you're at home in the comfort of your living room lounge, maybe in the garden, to just think, oh, I'll just do a few of those and then I'll stop. Try and go a little bit more. That's the way we improve. That was hard work. Great job. Okay, we are coming down now onto our elbows and our knees. So giving these wrists a bit of a rest. I'm just going to give them a bit more of a twiddle. So we've got some nice butt work coming up, but this is what's really important about this is being in the correct position, being in the right position as you do this. So come back to the tissue box analogy. Shoulders and hips, especially your hips, because we're going to lift one leg up, being level and in the right position. So my elbows are underneath my shoulders, my knees are underneath my hips. I'm going to bring my knees together, actually, to start. Feet and knees together, but elbows can be underneath your, so shoulder width apart, underneath your shoulders. Just relaxing your head, making sure you're not here, just lengthen the back of the neck, let your head drop down. In fact, let your head drop down completely. To drop down, have a little look at where your hip bones are. Ideally, they're going to be perfectly level right now. So then you're going to lift one leg up. And when you lift that leg up, by dropping your head down, check that that side hip, on the leg you've lifted up, it doesn't lift up with the leg and it doesn't rotate. And then you're looking to be parallel with that knee and that thigh. So my handy stripes on these jogging bottoms are quite useful for me to see in the monitor that my thigh is pretty much parallel to the floor. Hips are level, I'm flexing my foot, my legs at right angles, and I'm set up. I'm just going to reset myself by bringing that knee back down, and then I'm going to take the knee carefully away again, set the leg up exactly where it was, and I'm just going to be very conscious that nothing is changing or shifting. The other thing you'll want to do is lean away from it on that supporting side. Try not to. Okay, here we go. We are just pulsing the foot, the sole of the foot, the heel, up towards the ceiling. From the parallel to the floor position. So it's not a great big movement. It's absolutely not this. Even if I keep the legs smaller, the movement is not coming from my pelvis, it's coming from my buttock muscles. I'm using my muscles to move the limbs, not using my bones to do the job. As in, if I move my pelvis, I get the same sort of movement, but that's not what we're after. We want to isolate those buttock muscles. Keeping the head relaxed, back of the neck relaxed. Make sure you're not leaning. Try not to turn this leg out, this top leg out. I really want to turn that out, but keep it really parallel. Keep the hips level. Again, if it's turned out, you're just going to target completely different muscles. Okay, we're now going to draw that knee in towards your chest, towards your hands. But as you do that, I don't want you to change the shape of your lower back. And then I'm going to take the leg out and flex the foot. So you're drawing it in. So this is completely different to the first one we did on all fours, where we rounded the back. You let that pelvis tuck under, you let that pubic bone follow that knee. None of that is going on here. You're just increasing the crease at the front of your hip and pushing away. I have to just softly point the foot to let that knee, my knee is brushing past the other knee on the mat. It's getting caught up a little bit, but that's fine. I'm not lifting the hip in order to let it come through. I'm not changing at all. I'm working really hard in my shoulders, in that supporting hip. It's probably where I'm working the hardest actually. This shoulder as well is having to do a lot of work, a lot of stabilisation to keep the upper body still. And I can see in the monitor that there's no change. And everything is starting to shake a little bit. Okay, holding that leg out straight. We are going to just take the toes to the floor and lift the leg up again. Toes to the floor and lift up. Again, this is strong. This is very tempting to let that lower back start swinging around, let that pelvis start joining in. Make the muscles work. Hold the rest of your body stable. Keep the legs straight, keep the foot flexed, push through that heel. Okay, last exercise, pointing that foot. We're crossing over. If I drop my head down, I'm going to one corner of my yoga mat and then out to the other corner of the yoga mat, drawing a nice semicircle. Trying to keep those hips still. Once you get this movement going, see if you can turn that leg in. So almost going to the outside edge, but try not to let the ankle collapse. And then when you take it to the other side, turn it out slightly. Turn it in, so I'm rotating the leg around in the hip socket. But, and this is just an added extra to this movement I discovered the other day, I'm really trying to keep this hip still. Ooh, I'm going to take that other elbow away, it's tough on the shoulder. Okay, and that's enough, I think. Just going to stretch back. Normally I would do a one-legged pigeon stretch there, or a glute stretch for the side that we've just worked. But I feel that this work is very strong on both sides. It's almost as strong on your stabilising side as it is on the moving side. So let's for now just take a sway from side to side, toes together, knees wide. And then we'll take a stretch at the end of those glutes. Okay, I'm just going to swap round to the other side so that I can see myself in the monitor a little bit better. So, setting yourself up really well. Remember, the last thing you want to do is perform this whole set of exercises in a compromised position, because you're just reinforcing that bad positioning. So knees are underneath your hips, feet and knees are together, elbows underneath the shoulders. Head nice and relaxed. Drop down, look at your hips, take that other leg away, lift it up. This side might be easier to get into position, it might feel more uncomfortable, you might want to lift the hip up, you might want to turn the leg out more. Try not to do any of those things. Once you've checked yourself and done all the checks that you need to do, just bring that knee back down. Think of your 4 points of contact, just take one of them away. Try and really stay exactly where you were before. So we're ready to go. Lifting that heel up. Putting the sole of the foot on the ceiling. No change in that pelvis, just an activation of those buttock muscles. Now this side for me feels quite shaky. It's my weaker side for buttock work, but it's also, that was just the side that was doing all the work to stabilise, so it's already quite fatigued. So bear that in mind when you're training. If there's a whole load of shaking going on, I think that's a song. That's a good one. I've lost my train of thought now. If there's a lot of shaking going on, it means that there's no endurance in the muscles. And sometimes too much shaking means you might as well stop. because you're not really getting an effective workout on the muscles because they're too stressed. Okay, I'm going to draw that knee in and extend. Draw the knee in and extend. I'm trying to extend the leg so that I'm parallel to the floor. That's a bit better, yeah. I think I was lifting it up a bit too high to start with. But here's the important bit. When you draw that knee in, no change in the shape of that lower back, no dropping in the hip, no lifting the hip to draw the knee in. You might find that you can only bring your knees together, or you can only bring that knee down to the mat without shifting. That's absolutely fine. Try and stay secure in your body positioning. Still a whole lot of shaking going on. So I know that I'm working the muscles, but I also know that they're getting quite fatigued. So let's keep that leg straight. Let's take the toes to the floor and lift up. Pushing the back of the knee up towards the ceiling, no bending at the knee, no tilting in that pelvis. Just dropping my head down, checking the pelvis is level. Trying not to lean away on that supporting side. Noticing that this side shoulder is getting tired as well. Okay, pointing that foot, crossing over, drop your head down again. Lift and there. So try and draw a semicircle, nice smooth semicircle. The middle of your semicircle, the height of it is the level with your hips, as opposed to a triangle. And then if you can, add that rotation in. It's really quite interesting trying to keep this hip still and then rotating the leg within the hip socket. And activating those buttock muscles all the way round. Last one. And coming in. And again, just going to have a little sway from side to side. Big toes together. Knees wide. Taking the arms wide. Quite a relaxed. Rolling out. Let's just do some of these. Just opening out the hips into a Z stretch either side. I feel like I want to sort of roll around across that buttock muscle. Or muscles. If I knew that you all had a foam roller, I'd get you rolling around on a foam roller. Let's just stay over to one side. And just go over towards the knee that's at the front with your chest. So if I come more here, from there. And maybe just lift the hips off. Swapping the legs over. So I'm trying to be, if I use the end of my mat as a measurement, my hands are sort of either side, equal distance either side of that knee. I'm leaning my chest forwards, my tissue box is square to the front, and then I'm just coming off and on that, rolling over that thigh and that hip. Feels quite nice. Good, okay, we are going to repeat the standing rotation exercise that we did standing up. So, this is quite tough in the sense of just being able to keep your seated upright position. If you can, beautifully straight legs with flexed feet. Hands are on the chest. If that's not available to you, Keep your feet flexed, keep your feet and knees squeezing together, but bend your knees. So ideally you're right up on your sit bones. Just get the extra bits out of the way. So make sure you're right up on those sit bones. So straight legs if you can, heels off the floor maybe. Feet nice and flat, no curly feet. Big toes and little toes on the same line, hands on your chest, and here we go again for that rotation. And this is very telling when you're in this position, because especially at your feet, you will end up, if you're not careful, if you let your pelvis rotate as well, you'll end up with one foot longer than the other, depending on which way you're going. So try and keep those sit bones equally weighted and just rotate around your spine. So I can feel like I'm actually moving my head a bit too much as well. Keep your nose in line with your fingertips. So the difference now is that we can't actively push a hip forwards to counteract, but we can be very aware of the weight through the sit bones, and that's strong. Oh, have a little slump. Good. I'm going to stay. I don't very often work with my mat this way. I'm going to stay with my mat this way today. We're going to go into some nice abdominal work. Yeah, I say nice. It's quite strong. And yes, and then I'd like to finish with some sideline leg sweeps. So here we go. So rounding the back all the way down to the mat. So we're going to take some reverse curls from your base position. Bring your knees in all the way and then up towards the ceiling. So what I'd like you to do is you can use a bit of momentum for this, but if it really isn't happening for you, then I will give you another alternative. But hands are nice and low, and you're actively going to push the hands down into the floor. And if you can see as I'm doing that, I'm just switching on my triceps a little bit, trying to keep the shoulders and the collarbone open as opposed to that happening. So legs are going to bend in, you're going to extend out, sort of, not really 45 degrees, 45 is probably a little bit too low, a little bit higher than 45. Bend those knees in, push down in your hands and come into your rollover position. Bend the knees in, roll down through your spine and extend away. Knees in and roll over. And knees and extend. And so we are using that momentum of straightening and bending the legs. But I'm really using my hands and my arms to help me as well. Extending over, scooping that lower tummy in. So if that really isn't something that's happening for you today, cross your ankles over, bend the knees. Your goal here is to try and peel the lower back off of the floor. And this is always the hardest thing. And then sometimes when that starts to happen, we get lower back off and crash back down again. So ideally, just swap your ankles over it as when you need to. Ideally, you want to go up, peel up and control-ish back down. It's tough. So a cheating version of this would be to just swing the legs, but that might just get you going a little bit initially. So this one we're using the swinging of the legs, but we're also using those deep lower abdominals. So yeah, try both of those. Okay, into hamstring stretches, advanced scissors. So we're going to come up with one leg up at 90 degrees and the other leg along the floor. Try and really fix this leg at 90 degrees. I've got my lower back rounded and I'm pushing into the floor. Just shuffle up the mat a little bit. I feel like I'm slightly out of the picture. So there. Yep. So this is stopping at 90 and then I'm switching. 3, 2, 1. Flexing both feet and then drawing that top leg in for an extra hamstring stretch and then pointing the feet to go back to the 90 degrees. I'm hanging on to this leg, which is keeping my upper body upright. I'm not in a neutral pelvis. I'm drawing my belly button in nice and tight. Here we go. 4 sets. 4, 3, 2, 1. Maybe we need to do 5 sets actually. Flex the feet and draw in. And 3, 2, 1. Flex and draw in. And 3, 2, 1. Flex and draw in. And 3, 2, 1. Flex and draw in. One more set. And 3, 2, 1. Flex and draw in. I think we need to do one more. And 3, 2, 1. Flex and draw in. If you didn't do an equal amount, or you want to do an extra one on your tighter side, this is my tighter side, so I'm just holding that a little bit longer and relax. Whew, good job. Okay, we are double leg lowers. Oh, double leg lowers. Okay, no worries. Where we were looking at rounding the spine, where we were looking at trying to keep the pelvis in neutral. Just one more exercise today. We're going to be lying on our side, and I'm going to use my yoga mat as my sort of measure for this. So I'm lining up against the back edge of the yoga mat, and then from there I'm bringing my feet forwards. So if you didn't have a yoga mat, think of your spine, so start with your legs all in a nice straight line as if you're standing tall. This underneath arm at the top, palm up, so you draw that shoulder down. And then just angle your legs, only your legs forwards from your hips. So that underneath leg is going to be quite supportive of your pelvis. And we're going to take leg sweeps. But the most important thing, the same as when we were doing the buttock work, is to keep the hips absolutely still. So it's quite nice to just put the back of your hand in your lower back maybe. So I'm going to flex my foot and bring my leg forwards as much as I can. I'm getting a bit of a hamstring stretch. I haven't changed the shape of my back. Then I'm pointing my foot and sweeping back. Oh, you can only go so far without that happening. So don't let your lower back change at all. So just go as far back as you can, pointing the foot, flexing the foot, pulsing twice, pointing the foot, sweeping back. No pulses when you go back. Just really try and stretch out the front of your hip joint. Flexing, pulse and pulse. Make sure that lower back isn't changing at all. So it would be very tempting to just, so now I'm swinging my pelvis as I swing the leg, and that isn't doing anything. And you can see the rib cage moving as well. Everything is moving. I'm just really keeping everything still. I'm pushing down on my little toe side on that underneath leg, that supporting leg, keeping the leg nice and straight, flexing forwards and pulse, point and sweep back. Good. Let's hold that leg back. Let's just take the opposite. Let's just take the same arm actually. No, don't want the same arm. I want the opposite arm. Reach the opposite arm forwards. No, that doesn't work. Cancel that. Just take the leg back. There's something I've definitely done there, but I can't work that out today. I was winging it a little bit. Take that leg back and just hold that stretch and just try and really lengthen it away. Maybe just take this arm up and stretch it away. Yeah, that feels quite nice. So top fingertips and that lower leg, and also the leg that's on the floor, stretching away in the opposite directions, and relax. Brilliant. Roll over to the other side. So line yourself up with the back of the mat. This is, or just think about everything being in a straight line, then angle the legs forwards. So that's that sort of 45 degrees-ish for that underneath leg. Lifting the top leg off, set your hips, either put your hand in your lower back, back of the hand in the lower back, or sort of backache position. Just checking that those hips stay still. So the leg is parallel to the floor at hip height. Breath in as you sweep back. Breath out as you take that pulse forwards. The click of my ankle then. Underneath arm at the top, palm up. So this is all quite a couple of these exercises today. I've been thinking about just really keeping this pelvis still, changing the angle here at the hip. It's really important to have the control, have the awareness of this, so that the whole of your spine and your pelvis isn't joining in with these big movements. Last one. And sweeping back. And let's just stretch the arm over, stretch that leg away, keep that top shoulder down low. Oh, I'm actually touching the wall. Really feel that length all the way along that front of that hip and the side, up to the top fingers. And relax. Good job everyone, well done. Sitting up, that's it for today. Brilliant work. Hope to see you on Thursday for the next Class A, maybe tomorrow evening and maybe even Wednesday lunchtime. See you soon. Thank you.